Okay, so welcome everyone to our second session, a reading session on picturing quantum processes. So today we will be trying to go through, we will be starting from where we left off, and we will hopefully finish up to process equations, maybe up to diagram substitution. Okay, so the first exercise is to cook up some of our own process theories. For each one, answer the following questions. So for this given example, let's see if I can draw. Right. Consider the process theory of programs. Okay, so the system types would be what? Data types. What would be the processes? Programs. How do two processes compose? We could say okay, we have a couple of modules where you have some function and it does so and so thing from here to here, and you have so many different modules, and so you're going to compose it either by calling some other function 2 inside function or outside the function. So when it's inside the function, it's being called during the execution. When it's outside the function, it's sort of being called sequentially. How do two processes be considered equal? So this is a deeper question talking about semantic equivalence. So basically, given two programs, PR1 and PR2, how can I determine if they're the same? One basic criteria is yes, they should have the exact same output. But beyond that, you can have several different programs do the exact same thing and have the same output. You have completely different, you can have very trivial examples of programs where they have the exact same output, but they do two very different things. One program could just compute the sum of a comma b and then print a plus b. This one could just multiply a plus a into b and print a plus b anyway. They're not equivalent programs. Okay, so that was our example on exercise 3.4. One thing to note is that we haven't always been too careful to say what a diagram actually is. A complete description of a diagram consists of the boxes it contains and how those boxes are connected. This is very much something clearly inspired from the Unit lemma, or just a manifestation of the Unit lemma. So the diagram refers to the drawing of boxes and wires without the interpretation within a process theory. However, it makes no reference to where boxes are written on a page. An immediately corollary of this fact is, if two diagrams can be deformed into each other without changing connections, then they are equal. Or put more succinctly, only connectivity matters. So here are some examples. Look at this example because this is something called the Yang-Baxter equation. Now, as a consequence, we can see that this wire connects this input all the way to the right side. So let's just name these actually. That would be much easier. Okay. So we have A, we have B, we have C, we have A, we have B, we have C. We have A, we have B, we have C, we have A, we have B, and we have C. Right. So over here you can notice that A as an output let's look at it from bottom to top. So C as an input gives us A as an output. Similarly over here, C as an input gives us A as an output, just following this line. Yeah. Similarly, we can see that A as an input gives us C as an output. Similarly, A as an input gives us C as an output, again tracing this line. Lastly, B as an input gives us B as an output, and that is similarly true in this case. So that is why we have the same when these two equations are the same. Then these two diagrams make the exact same connections, therefore they are equivalent diagrams. Similarly, this is a more trivial case of this, where it's basically the same thing where I removed B. Remove B. And instead of having A, we make it F. And instead of having C, we make it G. So this is a generalization of this. Similarly, we have this. Basically, I am allowed to move my box along this line over here, and I can get its position over here. Similarly, I'm allowed to move these boxes over here to get this equivalent diagram. A useful analogy is to think of these as boxes with strings attached to them, so I can pull them in this certain direction. And if this is a box, then it is equivalent to just having something with a taut line like this, or with a straight line like this. Okay? Similarly, the exact same thing is done here, wherein this is more complicated. So over here, I take my box F and I pull it over here, and that's why you get F like this. Similarly, I take my G and I pull it across my two strings to put it here. Similarly, I pull my H along with my G over here. However, I cannot pull my H only along G because it's also connected to K. So with this sort of deformation, I can prove that these two diagrams are equivalent. Oh yeah, it says here the first pair of equal diagrams is called the Yang-Baxter equation, which some readers have already encountered in mathematical physical literature. Yes. Okay, so diagrams are mathematics, section 3.13. Diagrams provide a rigorous language for doing mathematics on par with traditional mathematical formulas. Just as traditional formulas can be used to define new concepts and reason. Okay, one thing, Monisha. The way this is going to work is I'm going to read one paragraph, and if I have any thoughts, I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to give a comment about it, and then I'm going to continue and finish this paragraph, and then it's your turn. You're going to read it. If you have any comments about it, you will pause and give your comment. Likewise, if I'm reading and you have any comment, you can still stop me and tell me what your comment is. Like, oh, this is an interesting thought I had. Oh, this concept reminds me of this. This concept is an example of something I've seen before. Anything like that, okay?
Okay.
So, this is how it's going to work. We're going turn by turn. And if typically when something is very small, then we just won't have many comments about it anyway. So, no restriction on the kind of comments you can bring. And no restriction about when you're bringing your comments. Okay?
Okay.
Cool. So I'll start. Diagrams provide a rigorous language for doing mathematics on par with traditional mathematical formulas. Just as traditional formulas can be used to define new concepts and reason about many mathematical structures, like sets, groups, topological spaces, vector spaces, diagrams can be used to define new concepts and reason about process theories. Perhaps as a result of their upbringing, people will not accept something as a rigorous mathematical object unless it can be expressed as a formula of some kind. To please those people, and in order to give another perspective on diagrams, we will briefly introduce a formula like in notation. However, once the correct intuition is in place, we shall drop this notation and almost always work with diagrams directly. So we can turn a box of formulas into this. So you have F over here, and F is your process. And all the inputs in the order that they're given are listed out here. And all the inputs as the order they're given are, all the outputs are listed on the top. All the inputs are listed at the bottom. And you'll notice over here that this is A1, C1, D1, but there is a B1 and there is a B2. This is to distinguish between B1 coming separately like this and going out separately as an output. In some cases, you may consider B1 over here instead of B2. In that sense, it would mean that instead of just going out indefinitely ahead, B1 is going to loop around and become its own input.
Will it do?
So, we almost won't use this sort of notation. It's perfectly allowed to have things looping back like that, but we won't really see it. Okay?
I'll go.
Yes.
In the formula on the right, the subscripts A1 and B1 of F represent inputs, while the superscripts B2, C1 and D1 represent outputs. Why did we add numbers to each of these? This numbering doesn't have any meaning in its own right, but it is necessary to eliminate ambiguity whenever we have more than one wire of the same type in a single diagram. For instance, the second input to F is in a different wire from the first output. Thus, we refer to these wires as B1 and B2 respectively. We will call a type with some subscript a wire name since it refers to a particular wire in the diagram. The subscripts are of course unnecessary in diagrams because it is already clear that B1 and B2 are two distinct wires since they are in different positions on the page.
You can read the next, you can finish the page if you like. Makes sense, no?
Okay. Yeah. The entire expression F, A1, B1, C1, B2 and D1 is called a box name since it refers to a particular box in the diagram. We can express more than one box by writing down a sequence of box names where the order we write them down doesn't matter.
Okay, so what this means is that even though we're just doing these both processes simultaneously, so in a diagrammatic point of view, you can clearly see that F and G are happening at the exact same time. But sometimes it's not clear when we write it as a formula, so we put this sort of like relation between them. That if I do F first and then G, not F first and then G, but if I write F first and then I write G second, if I write G second and if I write F first, I'm saying that they're equivalent.
Okay, so the order doesn't matter.
Yeah, this is just for like the people who are fussy with notation, who want to write in this formulaic way.
Okay.
So for us it won't matter because we care about this, and for us it's already clearly given. Like we don't even doubt that if I put G on the left side is going to be different from having G on the right side. So in the diagrammatic view it's obvious, but in this formula way we would have to state that explicitly. Okay. Go ahead and finish the page.
Okay, note that all the upper and lower wire names in the formula on the right are distant. This is because the wires are connected to each other in the diagram. The way we represent connections is by repeating the name of a wire once as an upper wire name which corresponds to the output of the box and once a lower wire name which corresponds with the input.
Yeah. See, this is why we have this is where we put like how you said, right? Can we have A1 and can we have them matching? Is it possible to have the same wires appear top and bottom? Right. So this is where it's happening. So we have over here in the diagram, it's obvious. But if we try to say it formulaically, we have technically three different wires A. So that's why we have A1, A2, A3. This A wire only goes into H, so it is A3 only as an input to H. This wire is an output of F and is an input of G. That's why it's going to be in the superscript of F, like here, and it's going to be in the subscript of G, like here.
Can we also write for the superscript for F? Can we write it as F, A2 and A1?
Like switching the orders, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So
And
I can
then
write.
again under G we have to change it for A1.
Oh, so if you would change the name of it, yes. So if I'm going to say, oh, I want to name, instead of going A1, A2, A3, I want to go A1, A2, and then A3, then I would have to change the names.
Okay.
Okay,
But we can do
technically.
that.
But you can do that as long as you keep the namings and the wires consistent. Like for example, as long as you give each wire a unique name, such that no two wires have the exact same name, or there's no one name, or there is no wire that is left unnamed. So as long as your naming is like unique for every wire and every wire is named, so the ordering doesn't matter. Okay. Another thing I want you to know is that the ordering in which I mention these inputs is also doesn't matter. So let's say I have the exact same naming as before. If I put A1, A2 and I have A2, A1, it's the same because in this example that I'm explaining right now, I'm not renaming my wires. I'm just simply changing the order of the inputs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the second example that I just said is what I thought you were asking at first. But then you talked about renaming wires, so that is also valid as long as you keep the naming consistent.
Okay.
Okay, cool. I'll go ahead and read the next part.
Yeah.
We can give any subscript to a repeated wire name as long as it doesn't clash with any of the other wire names. For example, the following two formulas represent exactly the same diagram. See, over here he's renamed A2 with A4 and he's kept everything else the same.
Okay. Even B, I guess. B1.
It's still B1, yeah.
Okay.
You'll also consider a single wire of type A as a special box with a corresponding box name 1, A1, A2. Hence we can write, okay, so this function basically does nothing really. A special box, huh? Okay, but to me it looks like an identity box, doesn't do anything. Oh yeah, it says here, it's a process that does nothing. Okay, with a corresponding box name 1 that takes an input A1 and gives an output A2. Hence we can write this example where F takes A and then outputs B, and we have our special box that takes A and outputs A. So we have F of A1 to B3 and and 1 of A2. What is that? A2? Yeah, A2 to A4.
Okay.
It could have been A3, but I guess they put it A4 because there are 4 wires in total. Anyways.
4 wires?
It's not important why you put A4 and stuff like that. All that matters is you just notice that all these wires are distinct.
Huh.
Okay. So, in almost every respect, these special boxes are just boxes like any other, and they may be interpreted as the process that does nothing. However, when we connect them to an input or an output of another box, they vanish. So if I put over here in the output, I put this does nothing box, or if I put this one wala box, then it's basically as if I didn't do anything to it at all, and hence we have something that's obvious in the diagram that is sort of like, non-trivial in this formula point of view. Okay, so that's the whole point of looking at this whole thing from a diagram point of view. So you get these kind of easy assumptions for free, wherein if you were doing it from a purely formula based approach, you would have to spend a lot of time about thinking if this assumption is even a valid assumption to make. Okay. Okay.
I'll do the definition.
We'll stop at process equations. That's great. Okay.
Okay.
So, how far have I read? I've read till there. Do you want to do the definition?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
A diagram formula is a sequence of box names such that all wire names are unique except for matched pairs of upper and lower names. Two diagram formulae are equal if and only if one can be turned into the other by 3 conditions. Changing the order in which box names are written, adding or removing identity box, as in figure 3.4, and we'll go back and check. Changing the name of a repeated wire name.
Okay, let's have a look at 3.4. Yes.
Okay.
What does he say about 3.4? Adding or removing identity boxes. Yes. So we removed identity box. Similarly, changing the order in which box names are written. That's what we saw when we were talking about your example here.
Yeah.
And changing the name of a repeated wire name is what we saw in, where is that example? This. 3.3. Make sense so far? Here A2 is changed with A4. And hence these diagrams are equivalent. The wire A2 and A4 are repeated in this case. They're the same name, they're different names for the exact same wire. Hence the wire is repeated but the names are not. Okay, make sense? Okay. With this concept in hand, we can now define a definition of a diagram, which makes direct reference to a formula-like counterpart. So a diagram is a pictorial representation of a diagram formula where box names are interpreted as boxes, wire names are interpreted as input and output wires of boxes, and repeated wire names tell us which outputs are connected to which inputs. Draw the diagrams of the following diagram formulas. Will you send this as an assignment? Or like, you can just post it as a group, in the group. Don't think of it as an assignment. Just think of it as like, okay guys, here's solution to 3.10.
Okay.
So the fourth one is very trivial. You can see that they're all ones, right? So in some sense, you can expect all of them to be at the most 3 distinct lines. Okay, I don't see any repetitions. There's A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6. None of them are matching to each other. So it means that they're all just 3 different wires. That's obvious, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Similarly, FA1 to A1. Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about. It has the same output and the same input. So be careful. This is not a straight wire. This is a looping process. Okay?
Looping. Okay, the one you showed, like A is connected to A.
Yeah, so like A1 goes into F, but it doesn't give A2, which is a distinct wire. It gives A1, which is the exact same wire. So it's going to come in like this, and it's going to go out. But since they're not different wires, it's going to have to loop around and come back in again. Does that make sense?
Loop and coming back to the same?
I'll draw it actually. Okay. So, okay. Let's consider F like this. This would be A1. This would be A2, right? Now, if I say A1 is equal to A2, then basically I'm taking F like this. Whatever A2 is, I'm outputting it and I'm taking it back as input.
Oh, we didn't do this before.
We didn't do this before, but this is the example that we were sort of talking about. So this is one interesting-ish case to look at. So you don't need to do this example because this is obvious, and since it's there in the recording, people will see it anyway. Then you can try this example. This is somewhat easier than this. And this will be just a confirmation that you understood it well enough. So if you understand, if you like get this, and you'll be like, okay, cool, I'm through with this concept. Use the convention that inputs and outputs are numbered from left to right. Yeah, just remember that when we have, if we have A1 over here, and we have the exact same sum process that gives A over here as well, then this is going to be A2, okay?
Yeah.
Cool. The above construction shows that all of our work with diagrams could be translated without ambiguity into work on diagram formulas. We will mostly stick to diagrams since they're easy to visualize, easier to work with, and do away with bureaucratic overhead of extra subscripts. However, we will occasionally use diagram formulas as a handy tool for computing the process of a given diagram in these following sections, which we will see anyway later. Okay? So check it out if you like. Otherwise, no need. We'll come to it eventually.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So now it's 7:58. We'll stop today's session.
It?
Yeah, because I was planning to go to process equations anyway. And
how long is it?
Now it's only been 25 minutes. Process equations are...
No, the process equation, okay.
Quite long. Because given two processes, right? It's not always obvious how to say two processes are equal. So if I had two functions, it's somewhat at least tangible to think of, okay, if two functions, have the exact same formula, then I can clearly conclude that they're the same function or the same process, right? Or the same diagram. However, say you have two programs. So if you're writing a program and I'm writing a program, and someone had to determine whether these programs are the exact same, and imagine you had to do that without actually running the program. So you have no idea. You have no way of actually testing and seeing one by one what outputs you get and what test cases you get. Simply based on what the program is, can you determine if the two programs are equal? So that is a pretty hard question without any clever approaches to it. Without considering any clever approaches to it, it's at least not obvious. So say I asked for, Say I asked you for a program that multiplies 2 into 3. I could write a program that actually computes 2 into 3, but I can also write a program that just outputs 6. Right? So are these programs equivalent? No, they're not. One is not performing the computation, one is. But if I look purely at the outputs, then I can't distinguish. So the process of identifying what is equivalent and what is not, that is not obvious. And that is why process equations are basically saying, okay, this process is equivalent to this process.
Okay.
In this subsection, you're just going to see some special cases to understand, okay, when can I say one process is equal to another process? Or what kind of methods would I use to see how exactly they're equivalent? Stuff like that.
Okay.
Then we have diagram substitution. That is somewhat important. Then let's see, circuit diagrams. Okay, here we come to compositions. That is going to be the real source of this chapter. Sequential and parallel composition. Yeah, okay. Yes, we'll read the rest.
Starting this module?
The paper, the book, yeah.
Yep.
Just send me a text now, I'll probably sleep now.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
In the group or?